When it comes to saving big on tires, do the math at Big O Tires. Start by saving $100 instantly on sets of 4 Big O brand tires with paid installation purchase. Then receive an additional $50 by mail-in rebate on qualifying purchases using your Big O Tires credit card. Add it all up, and you can save as much as $150. The tires you need, the savings you want. Only at Big O Tires, the team you trust. Hurry, sale ends October 13th. For the location nearest you, go to bigotires.com.
It's Thursday, October 10th, and today's SportsBeat KC originated as a Facebook Live from Big O Tires in South Kansas City. Chiefs writers Herbie Teope and Sam McDowell, along with columnists Sam Mellinger and Vahe Gregorian, joined me, Blair Kirchhoff, to chat Chiefs among ourselves and the digital audience. We looked ahead to Sunday's home game against the Houston Texans, concentrated on the problems with the run defense, and wondered if the offensive woes in last weekend's loss to the Colts was a trend or an aberration. Hey, thanks to Kathy Lou for putting together today's show from long distance. We'll be back on Friday to talk college football and Sporting KC on SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. Thanks for listening. Welcome to Facebook Live, Red Zone Extra. We're here to talk Chiefs with the crew. To my right, the clean-shaven ones of Herbie Teope and Sam McDowell. The bearded ones to my left, Sam Mellinger and Vahe Gregorian. I'm on team clean-shaven today. And most days. We are, as we are every Thursday, at Big O Tires. This one at, I always have to look at the door here, 13521 Madison Avenue in Kansas City, Missouri. You guys, if you look at the stoplight out there, see the stoplight? If you take a left at that stoplight, you're in Martin City. So that's where we are, to give you some direction.
Can I point out something else, too?
Sure.
That you're showing your reporter chops by the numbers and the word up there are backwards to our view, and you're, of course, able to read it upside down, backwards, everything, like a good reporter.
I memorized the address before I came here, so because we had to tell Herbie about 7 times. Anyway, Martin City, the home of the original Jack Stack, Jess and Jim's. There's like less than 1,000 people that live in Martin City. There's as many restaurants there. It's one of the great little restaurant communities. So drop your car off here, take an Uber over to Martin City and get some good grub. So, hey, we're here to talk Chiefs. And we want you to talk Chiefs with us. Give us your question and comments. Let's start today by looking back a little bit at last week. And I'm going to turn to the historian here, Vahe. I think in the history of at least the Super Bowl era, maybe the merger era of the NFL, only 2 teams have gone through the regular season undefeated, right? The Dolphins of 72, which finished the deal.
Correct. The Dolphins finished the deal, and the Patriots, who got to the Super Bowl, only to be stopped by Steve Spagnuolo's New York Giants defense.
That's right.
But a reader pointed this out to me the other day, and I couldn't dispute it after looking it up. Dolphins supposedly are the only NFL team, not even pre-Super Bowl era, to go through the whole Shamil undefeated.
Maybe it could.
I hadn't realized that before. So the term I've been using is the last, which is accurate, but maybe not full.
I bring it up because we were all stunned with the Chiefs' first loss after 4 games, as if we thought 16-0 was on the table for them this year. I don't think 16-0 was going to happen for the Chiefs. However, that didn't make the Sunday night loss to the Colts any less surprising.
The thought I've had all along is they're not going 16-0, but very easy to keep kicking the can down the road, thinking, well, it's not going to be this week, right? I think we all sat in these very seats at the different Big O Tires last week and said, well, nobody's picking the upset.
We didn't even predict the game because we didn't. Nobody
spread.
Yeah, it was a spread. We went spread because nobody picked the Colts. Yeah. So Herbie, what happened? What happened? It's a multiple choice question because a lot of things happened. But I'll tell you what. Let's be specific and start with rushing defense. Why has that been such an issue for the Chiefs?
They just can't stop the run. And the thing about this is when you talk to some of the defensive players after the game, and they really understand that this is an issue that a lot of teams are starting to do against them. And it really started with the Baltimore Ravens. Mark Ingram rush for more than 100 yards. Last week against the Lions, 2 weeks against the Lions, Kerryon Johnson, who entered that game, I think it was like 2.6 yards per carry, rushed for 100 yards. And then last week against the Colts, Marlon Mack really set the tone for that Colts offense. And what's going on right now is they're playing keep away from Patrick Mahomes, and it's working. And some of the linebackers I talked to, Damian Wilson, said that, look, teams are now doing what's on tape. And it's a copycat league. So until the Chiefs show they can actually stop the run, it would not surprise me one bit. And then the Houston Texans, my goodness, this is a rushing football team. You got a triple threat there. Deshaun Watson, Carlos Hyde, Duke Johnson, all three of them can hurt the Chiefs on the ground. And they got to figure out a way to stop the run. So when you ask me what happened in the National Football League, most players will say if you stop the run, that's a key to success and you can probably win a football game. But if you can't stop the run, then your offense isn't coming on the field. And now you're expecting that defense to win the game for them. And I don't think this Chiefs defense can do that.
Well, and it was the fact that the Colts held the ball for 37 minutes on Sunday night was not a way to win a football game.
Yeah, running the football.
The Chiefs. Sam Ellinger, you did a film breakdown of Frank Clark this week. And part of that is, it's his overall game. Part of that, though, is stopping the run. He's part of this, part of the issue right now, is he not? And we see him as a pass rusher, but he's had issues all year.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, he's actually the one guy on that defense, in that front seven at least, that's defending the run okay. Like you watch, he sets a good edge on every time a ball is coming his way, and it either forces the guy inside where theoretically there should be teammates there to tackle him, or you've seen him, he did this against the Colts a couple times and some other games too, shed the guy if the running back's trying to bust it outside. Like, that's a mistake because Frank Clark will shed and he'll make a good tackle. His big problem has been in the pass rush, and he's just not winning. He's just not winning. The speed rush is too slow. The bull rush isn't strong enough. He's got an inside move that's pretty good and a spin that he does off of that sometimes, but he's just not getting to the quarterback. And there is, the Chiefs' sort of company line to some degree, I guess, has been he's getting doubled, he's getting chipped, it's happening, it is. But there's also times where he's one-on-one and he's just not winning. And some of this we talked last year repeatedly. So this isn't hindsight about the thing that made the Chiefs effective rushing the passer last year wasn't Chris Jones, and it wasn't Justin Houston, and it wasn't D Ford. It was all three of those guys rushing together. You can't double all three of them. And one of those guys was getting loose. And right now, they don't have that big threat. And that's just amplified now that Chris Jones is going to be out for a while.
And we don't know exactly how long. I think Kirby, you talked to his, or got in touch with his agent, maybe a weekly thing, but there's no definitive timetable for Chris Jones.
No timetable for him. And then when you look at the injuries on this Chiefs defense, there are a lot of people you're missing. Xavier Williams now on injured reserve. They signed Terrell McClain, and it wouldn't surprise me if McClain has to see playing time this Sunday. Might even start. Who's going to play there on the interior? So they got a lot of injuries there, and it's going to be a concern.
Yeah, and Sam McDowell, I know that you, in a story that we posted just this morning in the Kansas City Star, just flip to the other side of the ball quickly. Here we are. We spent the first few minutes talking about the defense. Patrick Mahomes and the offense scored 13 points. Against the Colts, 13 points. That's a low for the Chiefs with Mahomes as a starting quarterback. Fewest points in a game since I think early in the 2017 season. I think about 30 games or so, including the playoffs. And you wrote about this morning, and I think pretty much identified the issue. For a team that relies so much on the talents of Patrick Mahomes, there's one area where the Chiefs really failed on Sunday night.
Yeah, man-to-man, something that we've talked about in the past, but I guess I didn't realize how glaring the issue was until you stack it up one play after another. There's certain coverages where, because the pass is so quick, maybe it's a little bit difficult to tell exactly whether the Colts were going to play man or zone. But based on my numbers, 9 for 9 against the zone, 10 for, I think, 29 against man-to-man. And a lot of it, he did miss a pass. I think we all remember Demarcus Robinson down the sideline in the first half that could have been a touchdown. He misses Travis Kelce when they're backed up against their own end zone at one point. But
What about
Other than
Damian Williams?
Damian Williams could have had that pass. That was a man-to-man play as well on that very first drive. But Colts played in those first 2 drives. Colts played zone 8 times, and the Chiefs got 10 points. Afterwards, they played one zone package the entire rest of the game, and it was when the Chiefs bunched 3 receivers on the left, and I think because of that, they were forced to play zone, which leads you to believe maybe is that a solution to start bunching some receivers more often, maybe some screen passes. I know Sam pointed that out after the game in our Facebook Live, but right now the guys just aren't winning their one-on-one battles. There's not a lot of double teams. In fact, I was actually surprised on the tape how often the Colts did bring a 5th rusher. I think we all thought they were putting pressure on with 4. Mahomes even said that, but they brought a 5th rusher pretty often, which again just leaves one-on-one matchups, and they're just not winning one-on-one right now.
How much of that is going to change when Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins are both back?
He's the solution to all this.
Yeah,
and I think Sammy Watkins is a better solution than the other guys in the receiving core, but Tyreek is the ultimate solution to what's going on right now.
Yeah, this is as much a personnel thing right now, isn't it, is anything else? I mean, the Chiefs should be able to beat man coverage when they're healthy, when they're, I didn't go back and look at Jaguars film or, first half Jaguars when everybody was on the field. But when Watkins, Hill, Kelsey, those guys are Pro Bowl and All-Pro level players, teams shouldn't be able to beat the Chiefs using man.
I agree with that premise, but I think one thing that's kind of interesting is these things are coinciding. The trend line right now, and it's just a line, right? I mean, they've been averaging well over 30, 33, 34 points in the Patrick Mahomes era. So they've had one game 20 points under that, right? So it's not really yet a trend. But here's the trend line. The last 9 quarters, 4 offensive touchdowns.
Yikes.
Yep. And before that, first 11 quarters, I think this is the right math, first 11 quarters of the season, 12 offensive touchdowns. So that's different, but it's also coinciding with not only now having Fisher out and Hill out, but Watkins out too. And so at some point, you can only sustain so many injuries and still be yourself. But the other teams are figuring out a blueprint too. So what's the real truth here? Maybe it's a little bit of both.
I think the other team will tell you what your weakness is, because the Colts didn't play to their strengths. They played to the Chiefs' weaknesses. And they're a team that I think we saw last year in the playoffs, at that point last year, with a lot of the same personnel. They ran more zone than anybody in the NFL. And they're still, in the first month of this season, are a very zone-heavy team. And they went all man-to-man in the second half.
Well, what's kind of interesting about the Colts defense, too, don't forget, they were down a lot of players, a lot of starters on defense, and they still shut down. Both starting safeties. Darius Leonard was out, and I think one of their cornerbacks got hurt during the game. And
early.
They still were able to stop the Chiefs, so that's got to be alarming. That if you can't beat backups, there's a problem.
Backups playing a scheme that they're not used to.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Same thing with the Lions. I mean, the Lions were missing a bunch of guys. And their secondary in that game, too. Darius Slay, I remember, was out, and they got a safety hurt in the game.
Do we have an answer to the question, we can run Patrick Mahomes out there. It doesn't matter who he's playing with because he's Patrick Mahomes. I sort of had that feeling about him. This player who just transcends all. It doesn't matter who he's playing with. You throw any receivers, any running backs out there with him, and he'll get it done. I think this kind of proves that the margin of difference in the NFL is so slim, right? Yeah. So slim.
It is. It's not just one thing, though, right? Like, it's never just one thing. And the zone man thing, I think, is a huge part of it. But also, there's a pretty clear line of distinction, I thought, between and look, again, it was against zone a lot, but Patrick before the ankle re-aggravation and after. Yeah. That made a huge difference in accuracy. And I thought there were a couple times where there was some pressure that we've seen him get away from in the past that he didn't get away from then. And combined on that, maybe there were some times where instead of trying to get away from the pressure because he knew he was hobbled, he's making a more difficult throw than he otherwise would. All this is true, so it's a bunch of different factors, and we really haven't talked about the offensive line, which was horrendous, like just terrible. Cam Irving had as bad of a night as an offensive lineman can have And then Ryan Hunter
was even
came
worse.
in. He was only in for like 12
snaps.
plays, and just
gave up 12 pressures.
Yeah, he went over 12. That was
and was rewarded with a dismissal from the roster.
Yeah.
He's no longer with the Chiefs.
Yep.
That is something to point out, though, that Sam's pointing at is man-to-man is even a bigger deal to protect because you've got to give your guys time to beat press coverage and to beat the guy. In a zone pass, or a zone coverage, you could get a quick pass out maybe. You can't do that in man-to-man. It emphasizes that issue even more. So it's definitely the combination sort of working in sync here.
Yep.
Well, which is why Mahomes addressed it yesterday, that he thinks we'll see more kind of quick hit stuff against the Texans. Herbie, you've seen the Texans this year once, right? You covered the Saints beat Houston in the opener. It was a crazy finish.
Here we go.
But we're using it for Sam. We're using it for the current situation. If I remember this right, Texas took a late lead and then went into a prevent defense, which prevented them from winning because the Saints got the long field goal at the end. What did you make of the Texans when you saw them?
Well, the thing that really jumped out in that game there, and it's a theme here that's going to come into this week. They put up 180 yards rushing on the Saints defense. And so it's the same premise. They were playing keep away from that potent Saints offense. You don't want to put the ball in Drew Brees' hand when he was healthy. And so this is going to be a theme, I think, going into this game. Duke Johnson, Carlos Hyde, and Deshaun Watson are going to play keep away from Patrick Mahomes. But that's the big thing with the Texans. They are a prolific offense. Last week, I think they dropped, 50-plus points in their win. And so this is a team that can put up some points, and the Chiefs defense has to figure out a way to rally and stop this unit.
They did put up 53 and almost 600 yards of total offense. Do you know what they did the previous week?
Oh, yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, at home against the Carolina Panthers, 10 points, 10 points and 260 total yards. Watson was sacked 6 times. And Ron Rivera is a really good coach, good defensive mind. Steve Spagnuolo, coached with him. Both of them coached under Andy Reid in Philly. So, which Texans team do you expect to see? I mean, 2 home games, they're completely different. Completely different offensively. I just find that contrast really interesting.
The thing is, even with the running backs that they have, they also have potent wide receivers. DeAndre Hopkins, obviously, an elite wide receiver.
Gosh.
Will Fuller, very capable.
He went for like
for
200 last week. Yeah. Will Fuller did.
That Atlanta defense is going to keep the Chiefs from ranking last in a lot of categories this year. But if you're looking for which team the Chiefs more mirror, I think they're probably closer to the Falcons on that scale than they are the Panthers.
Sadly.
Right.
Sadly for the Chiefs.
Luke Kuechly does not work here. That is a big difference.
Blair asked that first question to kick the show off. What are some of the issues with the Chiefs? And I think we just spent almost 3 hours breaking down everything that's going on there. There are a lot of issues.
But I think if there's a national storyline for the game, it's the quarterbacks, right? It's the first meeting between Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, who were taken 10th and 12th in the 2017 draft, and both teams traded up for the position to draft those guys. You guys remember where you were? Well, we were all at the Chiefs training facility on draft night, but what we were thinking when the Chiefs traded, it's early, the Chiefs were going to pick 27th or something, and then find out that the Chiefs had traded up. Who did you think they were going to take with that?
I thought Watson. Actually, let me back up. I thought Mahomes, but I thought it should have been Watson. I can say that now. Just because I thought that I was just mesmerized by he did it against the highest level of competition, and he had just beaten Alabama with a 2-minute drive. A proven winner. I just thought that's the sure thing. Good athlete, smart guy, pedigree, all those things. I'm glad they took Mahomes. That is better for us. That is better content, And it's funny, that's a hell of a decision, right? And Trubisky goes, they traded up to get him.
Went from 3 to 2, I think. To get
and we watched a lot of film on all 3 of those guys, and it seemed like, look, these people that are making these decisions know 1,000 times more about football than we do. I think we can say that. But I was like, why this guy over either of these 2 guys, But they loved the tape, and they loved, and that what I saw as a strength for Watson, I think was an opening for the Chiefs to love Mahomes, because it is true, he did it against the highest level of competition. He also did it with a hell of a supporting cast. Good linemen, some terrific receivers, absolutely studs. And Mahomes was doing it, no offense to those guys, but with not awesome teammates, you know?
Yeah, but with a future NFL coach.
That's right. That's right.
Chicken and egg on that. Yeah.
Patrick is the tide that raises all boats around that.
What, did you think?
I thought it was a coin toss, and I feel like, do I remember right, Sam? Did you drill deep into how that decision was made, what they distinguished between them? Or
I never wrote it.
Okay.
I did some of the reporting, and it was basically they liked the film. You know, it's like
and also
kind
the
of
connection
cliche,
though
boring
with Andy's chemistry with Patrick.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't that?
Yeah, the story's been told about they brought him in for the meeting, and Andy just goes. Thumbs up on this guy. And I also, when Watson, I think he is a smart guy and he knows his stuff, and look, it's edited, whatever, but the Gruden QB camp, there was a big difference between those two guys, like how they showed up. And those things are edited, I think, to make the quarterbacks look good.
Yeah.
And
or at least not bad.
Yeah, and Watson kind of struggled a little bit. Maybe he was nervous or whatever, but because I do think that he's not a dumb quarterback. You know, he's not like it's not like the Sean McVay meme where, Jared Goff is just like waiting, okay, I'm going to throw it over here. That's not Deshaun Watson. He's a smarter quarterback than that. But Mahomes in that deal just jumped off. I mean, it's like, as talented as that guy is physically, you usually don't expect somebody to have both sides of it, to be that brilliant, and I think that's what pushed them over the top.
Sort of going back and looking at, because I did this week, the 2017 sort of mock drafts and what people thought of these guys coming out, and nobody had Mahomes in the top 5, and I think I've seen one that had him about 10. Oddly enough, had the Texans trading up to get Mahomes. Almost everybody has Watson going ahead of Mahomes. I think most people thought that he was going to be the better quarterback. There's a couple people that give second-round grades on Mahomes or third-round grades on Mahomes. I saw third, yeah. And it's just crazy because now, knowing what they are, obviously Mahomes would be the number 1 pick, but Watson would be too. I mean, Watson.
They might go 1-2.
Yeah,
Mahomes, Watson.
If you redid the draft.
Yeah, yeah. Because that's the thing. Like, we can talk about Mahomes being the right pick, and he was, but geez, I mean, it's not like this wasn't like a Sam Bowie situation. You end up with Deshaun Watson, you feel pretty good.
But everybody, it's just, the surprising part about that is everybody in the NFL, you think, reaches for the quarterback just in case.
Yeah,
this guy's going to be something. Yep. And to see those guys fall to 10th and 12th is really surprising in this day and age.
Watson didn't start right out of the gate. If I remember, he started 6 or 7 games his rookie season. One of those games was against the Chiefs.
Yep.
And it was at Houston, and we're down there, and the Chiefs got out to a big lead in that game. So, an insurmountable lead. So we started making our way downstairs before the end of the game. And as we were on the elevator getting our way down the field, I think the Texans scored like 3 touchdowns and turned it into a 1-score game, and they were all Deshaun Watson passes. He ended up with 5 touchdown passes that night against the Chiefs.
What I remember that game for is when my guy, Chris Conley, got hurt on an onside kick.
On an onside kick.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because the Texans, maybe they recovered it and scored, or that was the last gasp.
That's right. That's also the last onside kick recovered in the NFL, if that was the case.
Right. Like I said, this is the first Mahomes-Watson matchup, but Watson has faced an Andy Reid coached team. Not the only matchup, and then certainly that's not a direct matchup, but there are, Herbie, you'll be looking at some other matchups in this game, especially the one that will involve J.J. Watt.
Yeah, and this is going to be a big one, obviously, against right tackle Mitchell Schwartz. I almost said Ryan Ramczyk. See, I caught myself there. So, yeah. No, obviously, you bring Mitchell Schwartz into the Chiefs organization because of the elite pass rushers that line up over the right tackle in the AFC West. And so he's battle-tested to go against a guy like J.J. Watt. And one thing that really is interesting to me about J.J. Watt, if you scheme against him properly and you have an elite right tackle to go against him, you can probably contain him as it happened in week 1. Sorry, Sam. Ryan Ramczyk kept J.J. Watt off of the scoreboard, off the stat sheet for the first time in 105 career games because they trusted Ramczyk to go against Watt one-on-one, and it helped him out as necessary with chip blocks from the tight ends on that side. But I suspect what you're probably going to end up seeing here, because a lot of right tackles like to watch film on how their predecessors or their peers have competed against some of these elite guys. So it wouldn't surprise me if Schwartz dove into that film. And then we'll find out, because I'm going to try to talk to him this week on that, because I know that he and Ramczyk are close friends and they talk a lot.
I think Watt had a good game against the Chiefs. The only time that Reed has lost to Houston, they've played 5 or 6 times, but the only loss was down in Houston the regular season. But Watt's also had some misfortune against. He's been injured, I think, a couple of times. That playoff game, he left early for that. And I just want to say there was another time. That
Eric Fisher had a really good day, if I remember right, against him in that playoff game.
He did, and that was there were some whispers about the J.J. Watt flu.
I remember.
Yeah. Fisher ended up playing
From earlier in the season, right? Yep. Remember
the opener, the season opener.
Yeah. And you could tell after that game, and look, there was a lot of emotions after that game, because that was the Chiefs' first playoff win in 22 years, I think.
I think that's right.
I think I had that right. And don't check me. But so everybody was emotional. I remember Alex Smith coming off the field and just, the second most emotional I've ever seen him after the Dave Ewing photo. The Chargers comeback. But Eric Fisher was over the moon, and justifiably so. I mean, that meant a lot to him.
Jesse Bates wants to know, are the issues at linebacker, or when we're back, we're talking about the defense, issues at linebacker or the defensive line?
Yes.
I remember Damian Wilson had that interception in the opener against Jacksonville, and I'm trying to think of the next best play in line.
Forced fumble.
Forced fumble, that's right. The forced fumble that Breland recovered, right?
Yeah, on Leonard Fournette.
Yep. And I'm trying to think of the play that the linebackers made like that since then.
Yeah, I think he's referring to. I guess my response was more to the rush defense issue. Because when you get into the tape, there's not a lot of gap coverage there. Even Ben Neiman, a guy that I like, I thought struggled when he came in for Hitchens to just find the right gap that the running back, that Marlon Mack, and I know Marlon Mack's a smaller guy, but constantly it seemed like he was one level over, or just not in the right spot a lot of times. And Hitchens practiced it limited yesterday, but I still think it's probably 50-50 whether or not we see him on Sunday.
Yeah, and so Josh Ogle wants to know, how long is Eric Fisher out? Good time to talk about the injuries. It is a pile of injuries. A long list, as you guys noted yesterday, 12 to 15 names just on the injury list. And I don't think Mahomes' name was on there, was it, on the injury list? Even though we talked spent a lot of time talking about his ankle.
He said yesterday that his ankle felt pretty good, and he said it in sort of a surprising tone, like.
Like he was surprised.
You're right. You're right. Like it came in sore Tuesday, but it feels pretty good today, and that was yesterday. But I mean, Blair, you wrote a lot about just the whole list of injuries yesterday.
Right, I did, and quoted Mahomes saying what he did, and then I remember looking at. I got the injury report here. He's not on the injury report, so listen, he said it's not perfect. To me, a less than perfect ankle probably should designate him on the injury report, but it's not. Maybe he'll go on there today, but he's going to play, and his ability to elude danger is so important for what the Chiefs do. Look at their touchdown. Look at the 4th and 27 completion that kept alive for at least a moment the last gasp on Sunday night. He has got to be able to elude trouble.
You're making me think of. I think this is an interesting question. I tried to ask Andy Reid about it a little bit yesterday, and he more or less shot it down. But the Chiefs need to win X amount of games to do their damnedest to have home field advantage in the playoff. We're assuming this is their trajectory. At the same time, if you're really thinking about the big picture, do we want this guy fighting a season-long injury and just like getting through games? And I think it's reasonable to think about the question, and I'm sure there's a million reasons why I'm wrong on the premise, but I think it's reasonable to think about the question. Maybe you should sit the guy a little bit and let that ankle be at its best for the last 2 months of the season. Just a thought.
Before we chew on that, my crack editor, Sam McDowell, was overlooking the screen here and noticed that Mahomes was on the injury report yesterday, full participant with the ankle. But it's a good point.
You asked Andy that yesterday.
Yeah, and he didn't really entertain it. I mean, he kind of just gave me the. Yeah. I mean, he wasn't a smart aleck, but it was just kind of like doctors tell us what we're going to do and everything.
Right, it's up to the doctors.
But I'd be interested to know if you even have a discussion about that sort of thing. Like, okay, we want him at his best, the best he can possibly be in November, December, January.
But how long would you be willing, I guess, to sit him out? Because at some point, Sam wrote about this last week. I still think the Patriots-Chiefs game is happening, and
it is. It's all about getting to that game and where it's going to be.
Where that game happens.
I know.
If you fall too behind in the race,
right.
that's a much different picture.
Because right now they're essentially tied. Like
half a game back.
Yeah, but if you win in Foxborough, then you're ahead. It's just, and the Texans, it's an AFC team. I think the Texans are another team that, like Baltimore, it seems like there's like Patriots, Chiefs, gap. I think Texans are a little bit better, or I think the Ravens are a little bit better than the Texans. But I think
or the Colts. Would you put the Colts in?
Jeez, I wouldn't have.
Yeah. 3-2 and
beat them here. I don't know. Look, it's an interesting question because first and foremost, you probably have to secure your position, right? Yes. And you got to win games. And now I think I don't know about how you guys feel about it, but I'm certainly more reluctant to kick the can down the road about when they're going to lose again. I mean, I think they could lose this week.
I think the Chiefs have been, and Andy Reid have been cautious when it comes to injuries and bringing players back. Tyreek Hill's been taking reps on the field on Sundays the last couple of weeks, and I don't suspect he's going to play this Sunday. Earliest would be the following Thursday at Denver, but I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't play in that game as well. So, which is a way of my responding to your point. I think once a player is out, they do everything they can to make sure that he's 100%, as much close to 100% getting back. But if you're not out, you're on the field, you're playing, and you're expected to go. And I don't remember Andy or the Chiefs with the long view of an injury. No. However, they've never had a player like this.
Yeah. The other part that we don't know is the Rick Burkholder's opinion on how much are you risking putting him out there of we just saw a re-aggravation last week, but how much are you risking that again? Because if it's just something that needs time, maybe you can find some time. I don't know. Sometime, just next week.
You get the extra 2 days after Denver.
But they got 2 games in. What is it?
5 days.
5 days coming up. So I don't know, man. A lot of screen passes. I don't know.
Remember when Alex Smith got the ear injury at Indy?
God, the bleeding ear that he went back in the game with.
Yes, that he finished the game of the Colts. He did sit out the next week, Jacksonville at home. Nick Foles was the quarterback that game, but that was it for the absence of Alex
from the ear.
That does speak a little bit to how Andy views the quarterback a little differently, right? Like he keeps him in games as long as he possibly can, even when games are decided. There's something about Andy's view on that. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out.
The value of a replacement player is a little bit.
There is that.
Well, I mean, it's a good line, but it's really freaking true because look, not bashing Alex Smith. I think he's a good player, but Alex Smith is here and Nick Foles is here, right? Patrick Mahomes is here. Yeah. Matt Moore is, you know what I mean? Like the gap is much, much bigger.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, before we get to our kind of our closing segments, let's talk about the Travis Kelce, Eric Bieniemy moment. 2 moments actually on the sideline. Vahe, you ended up writing about this yesterday. Or it's in today's paper. It's been online since last night. I'll set it up and then you comment. So it's the first quarter and everybody who watched the game knows what happened. Kelce was having a tough go, right, early on. And gets to the sideline and Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator, kind of gets in his grill about ball security mostly. We don't know for sure because Kelce didn't tell us that yesterday, and Bieniemy we talked to later today, but we just assumed that was the topic.
And Andy Reid kind of
yes, he did. That's right. You're right. He did. So let's stipulate that. But it got there was a little shove push. That was also part of the story is how you want to define what happened. Followed quickly by an embrace from Kelce to Eric Bieniemy. Andy Reid, as you said, mentioned it on Monday, and basically called it a heat of the moment play and moment. And then Travis Kelce addressed it on Wednesday. That, again, part of Vahe's column, and we have the audio of that also on in Vahe's column. I recommend you go read it. But at the very least, a bad look.
A bad look. You just can't do it, right? You can't put the hands on the coach. I would feel different about it, though, if Kelsey hadn't basically immediately gone over to hug him. Now, we can break this down a lot of different ways, but the thing I'm going to take away from it is Kelsey's push, and I do look at it as a push more than a shove, and I know it's semantics, but it was a get away from me. It was not a I'm coming after you, let's fight. I mean, there were two guys, Irving separated Bieniemy and Laurent Duvernay-Tardif separated Kelsey, but it wasn't exactly necessary. It wasn't going to get accelerated, I don't think. The other hand, one of the thoughts I had, in fact, Blair, we were kind of kicking it around the office yesterday when I was typing. I just sort of turned to you and said, what if you had done this to Andy Reid? And I think it would look a little different. And there's all kinds of implications that speaks to. So I just think the Chiefs needed to say something to not allow it to be condoned. And I get that they might have said something internally. More than likely they have. More than likely. But I think you need to say, we can't have a player pushing a coach. I think it just needs to be said. I do realize there's a lot to it, though.
Sam McDowell, you were out there yesterday, too.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I agree with the latter thing. I thought on Monday the statement should have been stronger because you do have a player pushing a coach on a sideline with, I think NBC brings 43 cameras to the game. You know it's going to be on camera. So to me, it's just a completely unacceptable thing. And I know he did go over and hug him afterwards. And, I wouldn't suspend the guy or anything like that. But I did think a statement was worthy.
Well, Herbie, was it a finable offense? Is it when you see something? Could that be
internally? Maybe. I don't think the NFL would do anything like that. That would have to be handled internally. But to everyone's point here, sideline flare-ups occur all the time between players and coaches, and even between players and their own teammates. But putting your hands on someone like Vahe and Sam here said, that can't be, especially if it's on national TV. You can't hide that. And now we're spending all this time talking about it. Andy Reid talked about it. Kelsey talked about it. And you better be guaranteed Eric Bieniemy is going to have to probably address it again Thursday. So, you can't put your hands on a coach. You just can't.
Sam, speaking of discipline, we've seen Kelsey kind of sit out the start of a game before.
The Tijuana game?
where he spent the first quarter doing push-ups.
I forgot about the push-ups part.
That was actually like one of the biggest things I was thinking about through this.
Cold shower.
There's context in everything. And with Kelsey, I thought he was kind of past this. You know what I mean? Like, he's not 24 anymore. And this was a big thing for him I don't think it was like pushing coaches necessarily, but it was taunting, and it was personal fouls, and it was, the towel on the referee, which was just objectively hilarious, but still great.
And the other gesture.
Right in your wheelhouse.
It's good content. I'm glad. I don't mind it.
Exactly. It was still something you probably shouldn't do. Yeah, good for us, not good for the Chiefs. I thought he was past this kind of thing. I don't think it's that big of a deal. If it's $1,000 fine or whatever, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but just sort of like, eyebrow raise. Like, oh, I thought you were 30. I thought this was.
You needed Charkandrick over on the side there. Be smart.
That's right.
All right. Pete Sweeney, we'll get to your question in the press room later today. All right, so let's begin to close it out with our where the rubber meets the road segment, where we select, identify a Chiefs player who.
You already got Mahomes?
That's right.
Okay, all right.
I got a better one this week.
Okay.
we think we'll have a good game on Sunday against the Houston Texans. Herbie, let's start with you. A lot of choices here because you're anticipating matchups and what the Chiefs might do, what they have to do to be successful. What do you think?
Well, where the rubber meets the road here, and I'm going to go with a recent signing because, as Sam mentioned earlier, we have not talked about the offensive line. But it would not surprise me one bit if Stefan Wisniewski is starting at left guard. And if he's starting at left guard, never mind J.J. Watt over the right tackle. They've got a pretty good pass rusher on the other side in Wiley. So, you're going, and he's probably going to be helping out Cam Irving a lot because Irving struggled against Justin Houston. So I'm going to say Wisniewski.
That's a good one.
They're going to put him around. Yeah, this is a plug-and-play player, a 7-year vet coming from Doug Peterson with the Eagles. So he has a general understanding of what Andy Reid likes to do with the blocking scheme and the West Coast offense.
Sam McDowell, what do you got?
I guess I should preface this by saying relatively, I think Kelsey's going to have a good game, even relative to his standard. I think he's going to come back, and he called last week. What stood out to me most was he said it was among the most frustrating games, or the most frustrated I've been in a long time, I think was what he said. Yeah. I just think he bounces back and has a big day. Plus, the Texans' weakness is their pass defense is horrible. I think they're 5th or 6th worst in the NFL in pass defense.
Okay, Vahe?
I'm going to say LaShawn McCoy. He was a little bit of a ghost last week because he fumbled and because they didn't use him that much. And I think he can do some things, take some pressure off Mahomes and just give them a little different look offensively.
All right, Sam.
I feel like I lead the team in Tyrann Mathieu picks, but going to go with him again. One, because I just think he's a really damn good player. And he's been, as Todd Haley would say, his arrow is pointing up here and going against his old team. I think it's an opportunity for him to play both close to the line of scrimmage and to maybe some of those intermediate routes and maybe get a turnover.
Wouldn't Todd Haley also say the Chiefs were 0-1 in the second quarter of the season?
Yeah, did too many of the things that got ourselves beat.
Right.
I can give you his whole post-game speech.
Hey, and to amplify Herbie's point, Terrell McClain also could be a plug-and-play guy this week, the defensive tackle that the Chiefs signed. Presumably they'll be without Chris Jones, and we know Xavier Williams on the IR. So my rubber meets the road player is Patrick Mahomes. I'm going with him again, psych, because he always throws for 300 yards.
You actually said you had something different.
Yeah, I did. I just want to throw you off the trail. So
I would use it. All right.
So, hey, thanks for joining us here at.
That's real. They really go.
Yeah, I'm going with that. I'm sticking. I'll be right again.
And Watson.
Right. I can go Co. Yeah, I can go with Co. Hey, next week, programming note, because the Chiefs play on Thursday, we will be back next Tuesday from a Big O Tires. This one, I believe, in Olathe next Tuesday. So thanks to all these guys that drove out south this week. I just drove a few miles. It was good for me. And that's what it's all about.
It's about
that's right. Thanks to Beth. Thanks to Sarah and Mike for coming out and joining us here. And we will talk to you guys again after the Chiefs game on Sunday against the Houston Texans. Hey, it's Blair. Hey, we have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners. Unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns we have to offer. And it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. For your convenience, your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. A lot of subscription services won't tell you that. They'll just sneak it on there. We just told you. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening.